Chapter 5. Vows Beneath the Northern Lights. By the time the plane landed at Pudong International Airport, Lin Yu's palms were already sweaty. It had been 3 years she hadn't returned to China since she got pregnant. Looking out the cabin window, early summer Shanghai was shrouded in a light haze. The skyline was more jagged than she remembered, with countless unfamiliar skyscrapers rising from the ground. "Mommy, are we there yet?" Erica squirmed in her arms, her golden curls messy from sleep. "We're here, sweetheart." Lin Yu kissed her daughter's forehead, catching the familiar scent of children's shampoo. 3-year-old Erica had inherited Eric's blonde hair and her almond-shaped eyes, a striking mixed-race child who drew attention wherever she went. Eric retrieved their backpack from the overhead bin, the dark circles under his eyes clearly visible. The 12-hour flight had been tough on the whole family. Erica had cried through half of it due to the pressure in her ears, while the older Chinese women seated in front and behind them had spent the entire time casting disapproving glances at the incompetent foreign family. "Did we bring all the documents?" Lin Yu double-checked. "Your work permit, Erica's visa, vaccination records." All in the folder. Eric patted the bag slung across his chest. "Relax, we're just moving, not infiltrating enemy territory." The immigration hall buzzed with noise. While waiting in line, Lin Yu noticed the curious looks constantly being cast their way, some aimed at Erica, others at tall, blonde Eric. She instinctively straightened her posture, using her body to shield her family from some of the stares. When the customs officer flipped through Eric's passport, he raised an eyebrow. "First time in China?" "Third," Eric replied in Chinese, "but this time we're staying for 2 years." The officer looked up in surprise at the fluent pronunciation, then smiled. "Welcome to Shanghai." The apartment Lin Yu had rented was in Jing'an District, 2 bedrooms and a living room, noticeably smaller than their home in Stockholm, yet 30% more expensive in monthly rent. As they opened the door, a musty smell hit them clearly. The agent hadn't aired the place out beforehand. "It's smaller than in the photos," Eric said, glancing around, trying to keep a neutral tone. "That's Shanghai," Lin Yu said, setting down her suitcase and opening the windows to let in some fresh air. "Space is a luxury." Erica excitedly ran through the empty living room, her footsteps echoing loudly on the bare floorboards. "Where's my room?" she asked in Swedish. Lin Yu pointed to the smaller bedroom. "This'll be your princess castle." That evening, while shopping for essentials at a nearby supermarket, Lin Yu was overcome by a strange feeling. The shelves filled with Chinese products should have been familiar, but instead felt subtly foreign. 3 years abroad had changed her habits. She caught herself comparing prices between Swedish and Chinese goods, hesitating between imported and domestic baby formula, and even stood in front of the soy sauce aisle for 5 minutes. Overwhelmed by the sheer number of choices, she hadn't realized China had so many varieties of soy sauce. When she returned home, Eric was trying to order food delivery on his phone, while Erica cried on the floor. Her teddy bear hadn't yet been unpacked from the luggage. "Food delivery gets here in under 30 minutes, Lin Yu said, putting down the grocery bags and pulling out the worn teddy bear from a suitcase. "They'll deliver anything, even groceries." Eric whistled. Sweden could learn from this efficiency. That remark sparked an odd sense of pride in Lin Yu, like China had finally earned her husband's approval in some way. But the feeling quickly turned to self-mockery. When did I start needing validation for my homeland? The first week passed in a blur of chaos. Lin Yu's new company had given her 3 days to adjust to the time difference, but in reality, it took a full week just to get the basics in order. Every day was packed with errands: setting up the gas, applying for a residence permit, looking for an international kindergarten. The language barrier rendered Eric practically helpless, despite his basic conversational Mandarin. "Why does the bank need paper proof for everything?" Eric asked one night, frustrated, tossing a stack of documents aside. "In Sweden, everything's handled online. China values things in black and white," Lin Yu explained. "And personal connections matter more than rules. I'll go with you tomorrow. Once you get to know a client manager, it'll be easier." Eric shook his head. "It's so inefficient." "That's called guangxi," Lin Yu said with a strained smile. "You'll understand eventually." On Monday morning, Lin Yu dressed carefully and headed to her new job. The AI startup, DeepThink, was based in a gleaming office building in Pudong. Most employees looked no older than 30. The receptionist eyed her curiously. "Are you Director Lin?" "Mr. Chen is waiting in the meeting room." Inside, 7 or 8 people were already seated. Mr. Chen was texting on his phone. When he saw Lin Yu enter, he looked up and smiled. "Dr. Lin is here. We'll start in a moment." Then he went back to typing. Lin Yu glanced at her watch. It was 9:05 a.m., the scheduled start time. At Nordstrom, her former Swedish employer, meetings started punctually and she was used to arriving 5 minutes early. But 10 minutes passed and half the participants were still missing. Mr. Chen showed no sign of beginning. "We usually wait until everyone arrives," a female colleague whispered beside her. Mr. Chen doesn't like repeating himself. When the meeting finally started at 9:25, Lin Yu had already reorganized her slides 3 times. Her presentation was pushed to the end as Mr. Chen insisted on discussing more urgent client issues first. By the time it was her turn, it was nearly lunchtime and half the room was staring at their phones. "Sweden's work culture is so much more efficient," Lin Yu complained to Eric over dinner. "In China, everything takes detours, even meetings are so casual." Eric was trying to pick up a peanut with chopsticks. "Every country has its own rhythm. At least your salary is higher than in Sweden." That was true. Lin Yu was earning nearly triple her Nordstrom salary, not counting stock options. But the strange blend of hyper-efficiency and bureaucratic delay left her disoriented. The company could work overnight for a project, but a reimbursement could take 2 weeks. Her colleagues were brilliant, yet no one dared challenge the boss in meetings. 2 weeks later, Eric's transfer to his company's China branch was finalized. On his first day, he wore a crisply ironed shirt to work, but came home looking like a defeated soldier. "They put me in charge of APAC clients," he slumped on the couch. "But all the important meetings are in Chinese, I can only catch half of it." Lin Yu handed him a cup of tea. "Want me to help you find a language partner?" "No," Eric shook his head. "What I need is respect. If they know there are foreigners on the team, why not hold meetings in English? In Sweden, we always accommodate non-Swedish speakers." Lin Yu couldn't answer. She remembered her early days at Nordstrom when not being a native English speaker had put her at a disadvantage. Now the roles were reversed, but the challenge felt the same. That weekend, they took Erica to Century Park. Like he used to in Sweden, Eric let Erica run freely across the grass while he sat on a bench. Before long, a security guard with a red armband walked over. "Watch your kid no stepping on the grass." Lin Yu quickly apologized and called Erica back. But the real awkwardness came when Eric took Erica to the slides. Several Chinese grandmothers surrounded him. "Foreign dads are so careless," one in a floral shirt said loudly enough for Eric to hear. "Catch a cold." "Exactly," another chimed in. "He's not even helping her on that tall slide. What if she falls?" Eric didn't understand the words, but he could read the tone in faces. He picked up Erica and walked stiffly back to Lin Yu. "We should go." In the cab ride home, Eric stayed silent. Later, as he showered, Lin Yu heard him curse in Swedish from the bathroom. The pressure of cultural adjustment showed in every aspect. Eric complained the air pollution hurt his throat. Erica often went hungry at kindergarten because she couldn't eat spicy food. Lin Yu felt constantly drained, switching between Western directness and Chinese subtlety. Most unexpectedly, she began to miss certain aspects of Sweden: fresh air, orderly cues, clear rules. One stifling July night, Lin Yu came home late from work to find Eric and Erica building blocks on the floor. On the table were 3 bowls of instant noodles, yet another failed cooking attempt by Eric. "I signed up for a Chinese class today," Eric said, handing her a pair of chopsticks. "At a language school near the office." Lin Yu looked up, surprised. "Really?" "Can't stay illiterate forever," Eric made a face. "Besides, Erica's Chinese is already better than mine." "It's embarrassing." That small decision felt like a candle in the dark. It gave Lin Yu hope. Maybe adjustment takes time, but at least Eric was willing to try. In August, Lin Yu's mother came to visit from Ningbo. It was her first time offering to visit since Erica was born. Lin Yu felt both nervous and excited. She still remembered how things had ended badly in Sweden last time. When the doorbell rang, it was Eric who answered. Lin's mother stood at the door, arms full of gifts and specialty foods. She looked noticeably thinner and walked with some difficulty. "Mom," Lin Yu rushed forward to take the bags. "What happened to your leg?" "A minor stroke," her mother said lightly. "I'm mostly recovered." Only then did Lin Yu notice the slight droop in her mother's mouth and the dragging of her right foot. A wave of guilt swept over her. She hadn't even known her mother had been ill. Dinner was homemade Ningbo cuisine, salt and mustard fish soup, braised bamboo shoots, and red braised ribs. Eric clumsily tried to use chopsticks, failing several times. To everyone's surprise, Lynn's mother calmly handed him a spoon. "It's normal for foreigners to struggle with chopsticks," she said without her usual sharpness. "Just take your time." That small gesture of kindness lightened the atmosphere at the table. Erica chattered in a mix of Swedish and Chinese as she showed her grandma her new toys. To Lin Yu's surprise, her mother listened patiently and even tried to mimic a few Swedish words. The next day was Saturday. Lynn's mother suggested teaching Eric how to make tangyan. "We eat tangyan on the winter solstice," she said while kneading the dough, "because it symbolizes reunion." Lin Yu translated, watching in surprise as Eric earnestly followed each step kneading the dough, filling the balls, rolling them round. When he finally managed to make one that wasn't completely lopsided, Lynn's mother actually smiled. "Not bad. Better than Yu Yu's first attempt." The afternoon sunlight streamed through the kitchen window, illuminating the three of them. Tiny flower particles danced in the light. Lin Yu suddenly realized this was the first time they'd felt like a real family. No arguments, no culture clashes, just the simple warmth of togetherness. That night, Lynn's mother quietly said to her, "Eric's a good man, at least he's willing to learn. I know women who married foreigners whose husbands never learned to use chopsticks in their entire lives." That brief acknowledgement brought tears to Lin Yu's eyes. She remembered how her mother had fiercely opposed her studying abroad during university, how she'd even threatened to cut ties when she decided to marry Eric. And now, the stubborn Ningbo woman was compromising in her own quiet way. In early September, Lin Yu received an unexpected email. A headhunter from a top tech company in Silicon Valley reached out, offering her a senior research position. The salary was double what she currently earned. "They read your paper at Nordstrom," the technical director said enthusiastically during a video interview. "It's exactly the kind of cross-cultural perspective we need." After the call, Lin Yu sat staring at Shanghai's glittering night skyline. It was a rare opportunity, higher pay, cutting-edge research, a truly international team. But it also meant uprooting again. Erica would face another cultural shock just as she'd adapted to China, and Eric's hard-earned professional connections would be left behind. She spent several nights unable to sleep, weighing the pros and cons in the dark. One late night, she quietly got up and stepped out onto the balcony, gazing at the lights of the Bund. 3 years ago, she had left Sweden for career growth. Now, just as she was finding her footing in China, another opportunity called. But this time, she was no longer free to go wherever she pleased. She was a wife, a mother, the anchor of a cross-cultural family. That weekend, she finally summoned the courage to tell Eric about the offer. Silicon Valley? Eric set down his Chinese textbook. "When did this happen?" "Last week," Lin Yu replied carefully. "I haven't decided yet. I wanted to hear your thoughts first." Eric was silent for a long time, so long that Lin Yu began to worry he was upset. Finally, he looked up, his ice blue eyes filled with complex emotions. "From a career perspective, it's definitely a great opportunity, but we have to think about Erica," Eric continued. "She's just settled into her kindergarten here, made friends. Moving again would be hard for her." Lin Yu nodded. "I thought the same." "And your Mandarin is still in its early stages?" "My job can be remote," Eric suddenly said. "At least partially. The time difference between Sweden and California is much smaller than with China." That answer surprised Lin Yu. She'd expected Eric to oppose the idea. After all, he had already worked so hard to adapt to life in China. "You mean you're open to considering it?" "I mean, don't automatically give it up because of me and Erica," Eric said, taking her hand. "If it's something you truly want, we'll find a way." In that moment, Lin Yu finally understood what a true partner was: not someone who always gives in, nor someone who insists on their own way, but someone who helps you find balance between both. "Let me think it over a bit more," she said softly. "Maybe not now. Maybe when Erica's older, when your Mandarin's better." In October, Eric's Chinese language class held a graduation ceremony at the language school. Lin Yu and Erica sat in the parent section, watching a group of foreign adults take turns performing in Chinese. When Eric stepped up to the microphone, Lin Yu held her breath. "Today, I will recite a poem," he said in heavily accented Mandarin. "Quiet Night Thoughts by Li Bai. Before my bed, the moonlight is bright." He pronounced each character slowly and earnestly. He mispronounced E as eBay and Ju as duo, but he finished the entire poem. At the end, he looked toward Lin Yu and said in Chinese, "This poem is for my wife and daughter. I love you." Amid applause, Lin Yu's vision blurred with tears. "That's my daddy." Erica shouted proudly, and the surrounding Chinese parents smiled warmly at them. On the subway ride home, Eric was still glowing with excitement. The teacher said I'm improving quickly and suggested I try the HSK Level 3 exam. "You'll definitely pass." Lin Yu leaned against his shoulder. "I'm so proud of you." That night, Lin Yu wrote a polite rejection email to the headhunter in Silicon Valley. At the same time, she submitted a proposal to Mr. Chen suggesting the company launch an internal cross-cultural communication training program to help foreign employees and Chinese teams collaborate more effectively. "Your international experience is exactly what we need." Mr. Chen approved the plan without hesitation. "Let's start the pilot next month." December in Shanghai was bone-chillingly damp, but Lin Yu felt a warmth she hadn't felt in a long time. On Sunday morning, she woke to find Eric and Erica missing from the bedroom. Laughter and a familiar aroma came from the kitchen. Eric was flipping scallion pancakes, and Erica was helping by getting flour all over her face. On the table were 3 bowls of soy milk and a plate of sliced youtiao. "Morning, Sleeping Beauty," Eric said in Mandarin. "Breakfast is almost ready." Lin Yu stood at the kitchen door, watching the Swedish man who once didn't even know how to use a rice cooker, now expertly flipping pancakes with chopsticks. Sunlight streamed in, bathing the scene in gold. At that moment, she understood. Home isn't a place. It's made up of tiny, precious moments like this one, in snowy Stockholm nights, in Shanghai's morning light. In every moment they chose each other, chose understanding, chose to grow together.